Hey, TYT Sports RotoWire Fantasy Football Draft Edition with Ben Mankewicz and RotoWire.com expert Chris Liss. We're talking sleepers, which traditionally have been people that nobody really heard of that all of a sudden come out of nowhere. But really, in this day and age, sleepers are more just undervalued players going later in your draft, right?
I mean, sleeper just means different things to different audiences, right? If somebody's new to fantasy football, then maybe Andre Ellington's a sleeper because they don't really know who he is. He's some guy in Arizona who was a rookie last year, 6th-round pick. Okay, but anyone who's played is like, oh, he's going to be a second or third round pick.
The 23rd player taken in their draft.
Right, exactly. And then other people are like, Justin Hunter's a sleeper because he's big and fast and he's been a monster in the preseason. And other people are like, no, he's a 7th-round pick. So we can define it. Let's just call it players available later in your draft who are going to be cheap and could make a big impact.
Okay, so players available later in your draft who are going to be cheap and make a big impact.
Yeah,
what
possibly.
Do you think?
And I'm gonna go. We'll go position by position, and you know, throw out yours and tell me if you disagree, Ben. My QBs are Tannehill. Guy can run. The offensive line could not be worse than it was last year, especially with that whole incognito disaster that happened mid-season. And he's got a good arm, and the weapons are not bad. They got a new offensive coordinator that came over from Philly. Alex Smith, look at the rushing yards last year.
Let me speak on Tannehill for a second, because I don't disagree. If you can get him, again, as your backup quarterback, that it might turn out to work out. It's his 3rd year. Like, it's a time for a guy to step up. Mike Wallace didn't work out last year, but again, 2nd year in a system, new offensive coordinator, granted, but 2nd year working with the quarterback. We know Mike Wallace can be a very productive receiver, and they got the possession guy in Hartline. And the tight end in Clay, like another guy to throw to. Like, there's targets he can run. It wouldn't surprise me if he sort of turned into the 13th or 14th best quarterback, fantasy quarterback in the league.
Right, and that's the thing. The problem is in a 1 QB 12-team league, quarterback sleepers don't really matter. But a lot of people play QB super flex, where you can put a QB in the flex, or a 2 QB league. This really matters in that case.
Also, like, you know, with the league we drafted last night, I took Matt Ryan. I wanted Luck. Somebody took him. I ended up with Ryan.
Jason Rubin took him.
So what?
Jason took him.
So then I decided not to take another quarterback. Like, I wanted to fill the, but at some point, if Matt Ryan gets hurt, then I'm going to have to find somebody.
Yeah. So
so
it's harder in 12
Tannehill, Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, because he runs, and Andy Reid has always gotten a ton of production of his QBs. Last year was weird, even though Alex Smith was a decent fantasy quarterback because of the rushing. It was a weird year because the Chiefs were like 9-0, playing backup quarterbacks, and never had to take a chance in the passing game. It's not going to be the case this year. And then Johnny Manziel. Who cares who's starting the year with the job? Come on. Johnny Manziel's going to be a monster. When Josh Gordon beats the rap, look out.
Well, hey, when is Josh Gordon going to beat that?
I think
and when
he's
do you
be
think?
Back soon.
By what game do you think Manziel's going to be playing?
4 or 5, I think.
Because they're going to pull Hoyer?
I just think the fans, it's going to be crazier than
It's going to be like Tebow.
It's going to be crazier than that, except that Manziel's actually good.
All right, so who do you have for wide receiver sleepers?
My receiver sleepers, one guy's Aaron Dobson. He would have been more trendy, but his foot injuries kind of kept him out all preseason. And look, who knows? They may throw him on IR and say he's not back. But it looks like he's practicing with the rest of the team. It looks like it's healing. This is the only big, fast guy they have. This is the guy that can stretch the field. Now, Gronk is going to be their main guy to the extent he stays healthy. But they can't, those 7-yard passes to Julian Edelman and Amendola, that's not going to win you a Super Bowl. You need a guy who's going to take the top off the defense, keep those safeties off the line, and that's their guy, and he was a 2nd-year player now. Was okay in his rookie year, had the foot problem, and kind of was hampered by that.
So you like Dobson better than Tompkins?
Much better.
I heard...
Because you could outrun Tompkins.
Oh, really? He's not fast?
No. Slow.
Well, I heard Tom Brady post-game interview, and he was referring to Kenbrell Tompkins as KT.
Yeah, so we decided that if Tom Brady has a nickname for you, that must be good.
Then there might be something going on between those two.
Yeah, but I never heard him talk about Randy Moss's RM or Wes Welker's WW or Robert Kraft's RG. So
fine, all right. Did we get 3 of those? Dobson and no.
Marquise Lee on the Jaguars could start. Was a dynamic talent. Would have been a top 10 pick if he came out the year before. I like him. He could start right away.
Who's the quarterback in Jacksonville?
For now, it's Chad Henne, but Blake Bortles looking way better than him. Is
that a point you're making?
So right, but I mean that's always the danger there. I mean, I drafted Cecil Shorts late in the draft last night. You want it to be Boyer. You want it to turn over to Boyer, and he looks good.
Yeah. Then the other guy I have is Justin Hunter, who's obvious to some, but I mean he's just been a monster. He's again a 2nd-year receiver, size-speed combo. Jake Locker's not very good, but Don't worry about that so much. Let the receiver do the job. All you got to do is throw it up in the air in the vicinity of these guys, and they can make plays.
Well, especially on teams that are having to come from behind and throw also. Keep that in mind, I think.
Yeah.
What about some of these rookie running backs? You know, in fantasy, everybody loves the rookie running back because they've yet to fail, right?
Yeah.
But they will.
Well, some of them won't. I mean, we saw what Alfred Morris was a reminder. I mean, yeah, that's a rarity, but it's not like that never happens. And you look at a team like Atlanta, and you look at the guys in front of Devontae Freeman, and I mean, Steven Jackson, don't draft under any circumstances. Last pick of the draft, don't take it under no circumstances.
Also, back surgery, yeah, too.
Right, back surgery.
Oh, shoot, double whammy.
He's 44 years old. Like, there's no reason to take Steven Jackson.
Yeah.
And then
42.
Right, okay, that's all right. Jacquizz Rodgers, he's 5'2". He's 5'2".
Yeah.
His dad's a jockey.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Look
MJD's pretty short too, and he's
so you look at a team that has a potent offense, that has a real quarterback, that if White and Jones are healthy, have real receivers, can move the ball downfield, and it strikes me that that's a running back who could emerge.
But he's been bid up for the reasons you say, and I don't think he's a good value because Steven Jackson returned to practice. He is the starter for now.
No chance.
Okay, Jacquizz Rodgers was terrible last year, but the line was beyond abysmal last year.
He's a different kind of player.
But Devonta Freeman's small too.
Yeah,
and
I got you. But
it's the thing is, even if Steven Jackson goes down, which he probably will at some point, but it could be week 7 or week 5 or whatever, it's not even clear that Devonta Freeman would get the job in that event, even if he should.
I'm just saying, as a guy who's watched the NFL, at some point, that kind of situation with those guys in front of you, whether it's week 4 or week 5, he gets the ball.
But
whether he then gets the ball and carries the ball 17 times for 37 yards and fumbles, then we never think of him again.
Are you taking a flyer on them late and
definitely.
drafting
It's a guy
rookies?
I'm intrigued to take a flyer on because I like that team.
Fine to take him late. I've been seeing him go 8th round in some of these competitive leagues. And I will say that the problem with some of these young guys that you think, this guy's quicker, he looks better in preseason. Look at these old, slow-ass guys that he's competing with. This is a joke. Like, get him in there. But then the coach is like, well, he doesn't block very well.
Right.
And you're like, you know what? Coach, who cares if
right.
he blocks? Like, come on, man. He's on my
What are you
fantasy
trying
team.
to do? Win? Protect your quarterback?
Who cares about your quarterback? Matt
Right.
Ryan's not important to your team.
Right, and that's, of course, that's critical, and that's why so many guys play who we don't understand why they play, because they can pick up the blitz.
Any tight end sleeper? Oh, sorry.
I'm just going to name one more because I think we touched on him in a different segment, but I think what happened to Wes Welker is serious. I think that you have that many concussions that I don't know whether he's going to need to reevaluate. He ought to, I think. With that many concussions, whatever he's had in his career, 10, 11, and 3 recently. So that makes me like Emmanuel Sanders perhaps more than I would have. That's a guy a guy who could clearly play a little bit in Pittsburgh, and now is in a system where all of a sudden he could end up with 80 catches and 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns, and depending on when you take him, that could be great value in that.
Yes, he's also moving up boards, but yeah, I think there's a good opportunity for him. I'm going to throw an old guy sleeper at running back, Ahmad Bradshaw.
Oh,
I've loved him forever.
And I'm not against Trent Richardson. I think he's slipping because there's the, one guy tweeted the eye roll factor when you draft Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
It's like embarrassing. Nobody wants to be that guy. I like that because
Michael Schur last night, his running backs are Trent Richardson and Steven Jackson. His season's over. His season's over.
Yeah. Don't be embarrassed to take anybody. But I think Ahmad Bradshaw is the other guy there, and that should be a good offense.
He can't stay healthy, but when he plays, and he's not that old, Ahmad Bradshaw is a player, and there's no Donald Brown.
Well, yeah, and you can roll your eyes all you want, but every single guy that's playing in the NFL is worthy of being on your fantasy team.
No, that's not true.
Come on,
that is
yes,
not
it
true.
is.
Steven Jackson and Trent Richardson and most Cardinals are not worthy of being.
But they're on a fantasy football team. All of them.
The Cardinals part, I'm making up.
Yeah. I'm not totally off the Trent Richardson. I mean, I think there's a price at which he is worth paying for. He got drafted 3rd overall, and that was clearly a mistake.
I did that last year.
But you would I mean 3rd overall in the NFL, and that was clearly a mistake. As was trading a 1st-round pick for him last year. But
I'm going to imitate a Trent Richardson run.
Ooh, I can't wait.
It's just going to be me getting out of a chair. This is Trent Richardson.
Go ahead.
Stop it.
You haven't crashed into anybody yet.
I know, but my back hurts. That's Trent Richardson trying to get through the offensive line. Don't take him under any circumstances. There's no spot because, yes, if it was the 15th round, but he's not there in the 15th round.
I think in the 7th or 8th round, you take Trent Richardson. He's the ostensible starting running back on a good offense, and we just don't know enough. I mean, crazy stuff happens.
Real quick, any tight end sleepers? Undervalued?
We talked about in the tight end segment that we did. I talked about Jordan Reed. You go much beyond that. There's really there's nobody on that list much lower than that who's going to have an explosive day. you could get guys who catch 4 or 5 balls for 70 yards, which there's great value, but there's nobody who's going to win your game with all by themselves.
I'll give you one.
All right.
Travis Kelce on Kansas City. That offense likes to throw. They didn't have to last year. They will this year. They got Bo suspended a game. He's 30 years old. Who knows how integrated he's going to be.
Wasn't great last year until the playoffs.
He was terrible during the season. I think a lot of this, they didn't target him. But Kelce looks fast and good, and he came off a knee injury. Now he looks healthy. And I think he could be that guy they look for in the red zone.
And remember how often Alex Smith threw to Vernon Davis.
Right.
Yeah.